Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Game Week 7 point scorers, biggest disappointments, and who could potentially be on the chopping block ahead of Game Week 8. Of course, we're now into the international break, yet another one in this season so far. Too many, if you ask me. Just roll on the big international tournaments next year and let the club football commence. It's been very stop-start so far. For me personally, it's been a decent season, picking up over the last few weeks, but we'll get to my team towards the back end of the video. If you do enjoy today's content, please do drop a subscribe on the channel. We're on the road to 1,300 subscribers, inching there slowly but steadily, and there's over 80% of you who are currently watching these videos who are yet to subscribe. So go ahead and hit the button down below. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload as well. It will always be in your sub boxes. And smash that like button. The target on each one of these Sun Dream Team videos is 100. So if you could hit that again, it would be greatly appreciated. Now let's crack on with the content. As always with these Sun Dream Team videos, the league code will just be underneath the video, just down below. So do go join it. We're close to 450 members so far in the league. Plenty of competition. And if you are in the top 10, when I happen to do these videos, which is normally midweek, you will be included in one of the future videos. So for the chance to do that, go join. Plenty of good stuff over there. Now, on to the first game of the weekend for the European teams, that is. As always, we will be covering the European teams. They will be doubling the most over the next few weeks. Once this international break is finally over, we have one more still to come, unfortunately, before we really kick into gear. But the European competitions will be well underway, even more so than they already are. Leeds against Tottenham was the Saturday dinner game. Of course, it was a Friday deadline this week, so it has felt like a very long weekend despite it only being a single game week. But Leeds-Tottenham, Leeds 1, Tottenham 2. Decent result for Tottenham in this fixture. Leeds coming out on top with the expected goals, but at the end of the day, it's the result that counts, and Tottenham did indeed come out on top. Okafor picking up the goal, cancelling out the Tottenham clean sheet. I know quite a few of you would have had a Romero, a Porro, a Vicario, probably a Van der Ven knocking around in your squads. So to see the clean sheet wiped out would have been a big disappointment. But for Tottenham, Matthias Tell and Mohamed Kudus coming up with the goals, clawing a 2-1 victory out of a very difficult ground. Whenever you go to Ellen Road, it's going to be one of them grounds where the crowd get behind them. There's lots of atmosphere, and once again, Tottenham grinding out a very positive result. It's been like this for quite some time now. Close to losing on several occasions, but pulling points out of the bag, and that's what's important at this stage of the season. Vicario with a 3-pointer. Romero just with a disappointing 2-pointer. He's been really good recently with his bonus points and just clean sheets in general. Pedro Porro, little bit of a snapshot from last year's Pedro Porro in this one, picking up the assist. I think it was a rather fortuitous assist. I'm tempted to say this was for the Kudus goal. Correct me if I'm wrong, and that one down below. 6 points, decent return for those of you who do own him. Udogie with the 3, Van der Ven with the 3, so close to 1 extra bonus point. But the star of the show, Mohamed Kudus, 14-pointer, so close to 3 bonus points overall, just 1 away, picking up just the 1 bonus point. I say just the 1. It's a nice little bonus on top of his incredible performance. 1 goal, 1 assist, and it's just what you want from this asset. Mohamed Kudus is going to be in lots of our teams going forward. It reminds me a lot of James Maddison last season when he played for Tottenham. Of course, injury issues did stop him and curtail his season last campaign lots and lots. But Kudus, it seems like he's the minute man. He's going to play all the games. He did get rested in the Champions League previously, but I feel like when he's on the pitch, he's just going to be creating magic. Xavi Simons just a 2-pointer, a disappointing return for those of you who do own him. Palhinha with a 2-pointer. I know he was in a few teams after his recent performances, picking up bonus points, picking up tackles in that Tottenham midfield. And Matthias Tell with a 9-pointer. Papsar, a player who is in my team currently, and I think he went through a stage of picking up a few bonus points, a couple of tackle points, just chipping in with goals here and there. I know he got an assist last week at home to team evades me. They scored in the last minute. I think it was Wolves. Very fortuitous assist that was, but just a 2-pointer coming off the bench and maybe an issue going forward. But the star of the show, Mohamed Kudus. Arsenal 2, West Ham 0, in a fixture that has been notoriously difficult for Arsenal over the past 2 seasons. In the reverse of this fixture, when we go to West Ham's ground, the London Stadium, it seems to be a lot more of a beneficial ground for us. Let's just say that. Arsenal tend to come away with 3 points. I think last season it was either 5-1 or 5-2 at their stadium. But in the last 2 seasons at Arsenal's ground at the Emirates, West Ham have come out on top. And I don't even think in those games Arsenal scored a goal. So coming into this fixture, there was a lot of worry. Not because of the opponent, of course, they're just coming off the back of Graham Potter doing that new managerial bounce under Nuno. And they did set up very defensively well in this game. It was not quite the Forest of last season, but there was certainly essence of Forest. Deep blocks, lots of workmanlike midfielders digging in deep compared to a Ward-Prowse of earlier in the season. And for 38 minutes, Arsenal struggled. Eze should have scored a lot earlier in this game. He missed an absolute sitter. The ball bobbled out to him about 6 yards out, pinged it over the bar. For you Eze owners, I think just getting the assist, just a 7-pointer, was very light on what he should have got in this game. Going through the West Ham team of note, Fernandes picking up 5-pointer, Paquetá with the 8-pointer, so close to max bonus points. Nothing really much to note on their front. Bowen also blanking with a 2-pointer if he's still in your squads. But on the Arsenal side of things, that is of course where we are looking for their players in Europe. Once again, another clean sheet. David Raya with a 7, Gabriel with a 9. He was a doubt for this game. I say doubt, there was a massive asterisk next to it. There was probably a 5% doubt in my mind that he wouldn't start this game. With West Ham as poor as they have been from corners and set pieces, Gabriel being probably the best in the league at attacking set pieces, I think it would have been a big risk not to play him in this game. And of course, his partnership at the back with William Saliba, who picked up the 8 points in this one, being a colossal partnership. Jurrien Timber, 15 points, picking up a bonus point, getting the assist, 6 tackles in this game. What an absolute monster of a player he is. I'm going to stand by what I say every single time I run over an Arsenal game and look back at it. Timber will miss fixtures. He won't miss as many as Calafiori, but he'll miss more than Gabriel, Saliba and Raya. But if you can get more points out of the games where he is starting, such as this one, I mean, if you've gone for a Saliba, Raya or Gabriel, he's already picked up at least 6 to 7, maybe even 8 more points than those other 3 assets. So he could do with a rest. If he rests a game, potentially you're still scoring more points. He is creeping up in price. I think he's 5.2 million and potentially a 0.2, 0.3 rise. At least that's what it's predicted on not only FPL. Great website, go check it out. Link is always in the description below. And that is where all the content, the visuals, that is, for this video comes from. Lots of analytics, lots of data. So if you're into that kind of thing, go check it out. This is not sponsored. It's just a fantastic website to delve deeper into how your team is doing. So Timber, once again, a 15-pointer. Odegaard coming off before half-time in 3 consecutive starts. I think that is a record. Correct me if I'm wrong down below. I've seen something pop up that says he is the first player in Premier League history to come off before half-time in 3 consecutive games. Now, he actually picked up a 0.3 rise in the week from 4.1 million to 4.4 million. A surprising 0.3 rise. I didn't actually think he'd amassed enough points in game week 6, but apparently he had. He's going to drop down 0.3 again. He can't stay fit. It's looking like an MCL injury. We're not too sure on the timeline for that one, on the recovery process, but he is going to be out. He's not going to go to the international break with Norway, and it could be out for at least 3 weeks. So if you do have him, it's a sell, unfortunately. Declan Rice showing once again what kind of incredible player he is. He started this game at the base of the midfield 3 in that number 6 role. When Odegaard picked up his injury, they brought on Woltemade. Declan Rice got pushed forward into the number 8 role, and I think that's where he has to play for Arsenal. When he was in that number 6 role, the progression of the ball was far too slow. Arsenal looked lethargic. They looked not devoid of ideas, but they were struggling to break that West Ham unit down. They flipped around, and Declan Rice actually scored his goal from the same position Eze missed his from, pretty much in that number 8 role, arriving late, pulled back to the edge of the 6-yard box, and it was a fantastic finish. He also gave a little wink and a nudge towards the West Ham fans who'd been giving him a lot of stick throughout the game. Surprisingly so, actually. I know he left to go to Arsenal, but he did give the club 105 million. and he was an amazing player for their club for years and years coming through the academy. So that did surprise me. Eze picking up the 7-pointer, getting the assist in this one. As I mentioned, he should have got at least a goal, and picking up the assist for the Declan Rice goal. Good shot on target, keeper getting the save. Saka surprisingly taking the penalty in this game. Now, I did have him in my transfers for Game Week 7 to bring in. I flipped him around going into the Game Week 7 deadline. I didn't actually think Saka was on penalties, and I'm going to stand by it. It was Saka's 200th game. If he would have scored the penalty, it was his 100th goal or assist in an Arsenal shirt. And I think that's why he took it off Gyökeres. And that is the key phrase. I think he took it off Gyökeres. To me, Gyökeres takes them still. As we've seen in previous seasons, Saka shares them with Odegaard. He shared them with Kai Havertz. I think there would have been another player taking it. Not springing to mind at the minute, so forgive me on that one. But at least 4 or 5 different penalty takers have sprung up over the last few years for Arsenal. And I think that will be the same again. Gyökeres will take them, Saka will take them. So if you're buying one asset specifically to be on penalties, I'd be slightly wary. Zubimendi with the 4-pointer coming off the bench, on the bench, once again showing he is a good asset. He will stay steady. I'm not too sure how many goal involvements he will pick up. Skelly, Martinelli, Moreno, and Nweri coming on with more than 10 minutes still to play, so they will go down substantially in price. You're probably looking at 0.2, 0.3 forms. But the Arsenal team is slowly taking shape. They have indeed jumped up to first in the league, and it's such a big squad. You look at the Arsenal team, and this is an Arsenal squad without Madueke, without Kai Havertz. Of course, Martin Odegaard went off injured again. Gabriel Jesus will be back eventually, whenever that is. There's just lots of options, and also Hincapié at the back. There's 5 players still to come back into this squad, so exciting times for Arsenal and lots of points probably to be had over the next few weeks. There was a lot of rambling to do with Arsenal. My apologies. They're doing very well. Hopefully you can hear it in my voice. Very excited for the season to come. A lot of difficult fixtures out of the way. Moving to Chelsea versus Liverpool, another important fixture for Game Week 7. Chelsea picking up I'm not sure if it was a surprising 2-1 victory, but it was a well-earned 2-1 victory in this one. I think they did actually do enough over the 90-plus minutes to win this game. Liverpool picking up the goal through Cody Gakpo. Isak getting the assist. Did he mean it? Did he not? In my opinion, it was more of a poor first touch to set himself up rather than incredible vision to see Gakpo over his shoulder. But they all count at the end of the day. And for you Isak owners, I'm sure you was more than happy to see those assist points pop up. But for Chelsea, Moises Caicedo picking up a goal and Esteval with the 95th minute winner causing bedlam at the bridge. Sanchez with the 2-pointer. Cucurella, 10 points, 8 on the bonus point scale, 3 bonus points overall. He started the season very well, took a little dip during game weeks, I'd say 3 to 6. Once again, picking things back up in game week 7. Reece James playing centre half, right back midfield. He was the multi-purpose man in that Chelsea team. With all the injuries around him, and surprisingly him not being one of them, he's looking like a very reliable asset. Can his injuries hold up? Will he start every game? No, probably not. But it's nice to see him in a Chelsea shirt getting a run of games. Badashile and Agyemang going off injured, so they're probably down to their 5th and 6th choice if they can't get any players back from injury after the international break. So defensive-wise, they are looking a little bit light. Moises Caicedo picking up 12 points. Didn't pick up any bonus points in this one, which is a bit of a surprise considering his form at the start of the season. But 2 tackle points, 4 tackles overall. Of course, an incredible goal into the top corner. Can he be an asset going forward? I think he is very much similar in price, if not identical, to Enzo Fernandez, who picked up 5 points in this one. And to me, it's a 50-50 swing either way. Of course, Enzo could be on penalties. It might be João Pedro. It could go either way, but I'm not too sure on that one. Malo Gusto getting the assist for the Caicedo goal. Very fortuitous assist. Just one of those simple 2-yard passes where the player runs the length of the pitch pretty much and slams it in the top corner. João Pedro blanking once again. So for those of you who still do own him, even after his 0.3 drop going into game week 7, it might be a potential look and see, especially with him being banned in the Champions League. Gueye coming on, not too much on that front. Esteval coming on, picking up the goal. But from Chelsea, it's the usual suspects picking up points. On the Liverpool side of things, it's an interesting one, it really is. Mohammed in goal, deputising for an injured Alisson. 4 points overall. Very close to 3 bonus points in this game. So if he'd have walked away with 6 despite conceding 2, it would have been a good return. I think 4 points is still okay for his value. Do you see Liverpool keeping clean sheets over the next 3 game weeks? Maybe 4 or 5 game weeks, depending on the severity of the Alisson injury and how long it takes him to come back. It could potentially be an option. Conor Bradley hauled off at half time, picking up a booking, went in for another foul, taken off, not only to add more creativity into that Liverpool team, but also to keep him protected. Also, Van Dijk on a 2 pointer. Lots of, well, he was very expensive at the start of the season. Still not looking good value for money. And the Liverpool backline in total, Kirkes 1 point, Konate just a 2 pointer. They actually looked a lot better once Gravenberch went into centre half and replaced Konate at centre back with the midfield three working as they did. Gakpo getting a goal, potentially an option going forward. It is definitely one to keep an eye on. Of course, Gakpo seems to have that left hand side on lockdown. Salah on the right, but Salah. What can we say about Mohamed Salah? Just the 3 points in this game again. Lots of blanks for a player who is 7 million currently in price. Is projected to go down 0.2 again. So a player who started the season at 7.5 million, at one stage crept up to 7.6, 7.7, could potentially be down to 6.8 million after game week 8. Now, personally, he's treading a very fine line in my squad. I think we're going to keep him. At least these are my early thoughts. I'm going to keep him. The game week 8, I'm getting them mixed up here. We've just had game week 7, so game week 8. That's the European double. Going into game week 9 is, from memory anyway, is the Carabao Cup double. Will he play both in that one? Probably not. So if he doesn't perform in game week 8, I don't know why I'm struggling so much with these game weeks. Game week 8, I think maybe his time might come to an end. But for his sake and my sake, I'm hoping he does kick into gear. Because if you're going without Mo Salah, each game week is going to be a massive worry. Alexander Isak, as I spoke about, picked up a very fortuitous assist, but 6 points. He started this game ahead of Ekitike. Ekitike did come on for him in the 74th minute, didn't do anything of note, will go down 0.2, 0.3 in value once again. Florian Wirtz coming on at half time for Conor Bradley. Midfield switched to Gravenberch, Wirtz and McAllister with Szoboszlai at right back after half time. It worked better. In the first half, they was pretty poor, but Chelsea picking up the 3 points. Liverpool not clicking. Maybe they will after the international break, but it's definitely an interesting thing to see how all those new transfers play out. On the Liverpool side, of course, Chelsea did this a few years ago where they signed lots of players for lots of money. Probably not the same quality of player that Liverpool signed, such as Florian Wirtz, Isak Ekitike, but they still had the same issues with bedding the players in, getting them to fit into the system, and getting a manager who got the best out of them. Is Arne Slot doing that? Is he getting the best out of Mo Salah with Isak up front and Wirtz behind? I think they're missing Trent Alexander-Arnold right back personally. Aston Villa 2, Burnley 1 in a result that many of us would have predicted, even despite Aston Villa's slightly slow start to the season, that is. Not scoring many goals. They went far without pretty much. Matty Cash kicking off their Premier League campaign, but it looks like they have slowly kicked into gear, goals-wise that is. Surprisingly not keeping a clean sheet in this one. Burnley only had 2 shots on target throughout the entire game, one of them being the goal. Daniel Marlin picking up 2 goals in this one. His pre-season form, he was the Maradona of the Midlands at that stage. Fell off the pace a little bit, wasn't picked, wasn't chosen for a few of these ones. Guessond took the right-sided position, but he's taken his chance. A huge 16-pointer, so for those of you out there who do have him, well played, big differential this week. Digne with a 6-pointer, 3 bonus points, always a rotation option with Maatsen at left back. Martinez missed the Europa League game with Bizot deputising for him. 1 point, picked up a booking. Matty Cash with a 3. Ezra Konsa once again picking up a very decent return, 6 points. It did look like it was going to be a whole lot more going into the last 15 minutes, but Martinez, mistaking goal, should have saved the header from a corner, but straight at him, straight to his legs. You'd expect a goalkeeper of that so-called quality to save a shot like that, but it wasn't meant to be. Konsa picking up the 3 bonus points. got a shot on target, might have scored on another day, but it's 6 points I will take personally. Pau Torres with a 4-pointer. John McGinn didn't continue his goal scoring form. I thought at one stage he might be rivaling Erling Haaland for the Golden Boot this season, but apparently that is not the case, and he is indeed human. Just a 2-pointer. Kamara with the 5-pointer, getting the assist. Rodgers, 9 points. Is he kicking back into gear? Is his form slowly starting to come back to him? The same sort of Morgan Rodgers that we saw last season. Close to a bonus point, picking up a tackle point, couple of shots on target. If he gets a few more goals, especially with how strong their teams are currently laying out in Europe, that is, I think having the potential for minutes, as we know, Morgan Rodgers last season was a minutes monster. He played pretty much every game for Aston Villa. So in a season where there's lots of rotation, he might be one to note. Watkins blanking once again. It's up and down with him. He misses a penalty, he scores a goal, he blanks again. He's just a nightmare to own. No more points across the board. Burnley, you're not really going to go towards any of their assets. I think a few of you might still have a Dubravka if you started off with a Leeds, Sunderland, and Burnley goalkeeper at the start of the campaign. So 3 points for him. But Aston Villa, a couple of goals at home, 3 points in the bag, and maybe Morgan Rodgers returning to form as well. Everton 2, Crystal Palace 1. In one of the games of the weekend for me, Palace taking a 1-0 lead in this one through Daniel Munoz, once again scoring a goal. A very premium priced asset, but with lots of potential. We'll start with the Everton side of things. Illiman and Dye scoring the penalty. Lacroix got the wrong side, brought the player down. I think it was Tim Irabunum. Definite penalty. Henderson, of course, the goalkeeper for Crystal Palace, has history for saving penalties. He saved Marmoushi's penalty in the FA Cup final. And normally, I'd actually back Dean Henderson to do really well against penalties. Tried to give him the eyes. Illuminidar slotted it into the other side. Wiped out the Palace clean sheet. In the space of, I think it was 3 or 4 minutes at most, the Palace clean sheet was wiped out and the Aston Villa clean sheet was wiped out. So that was a lot of points off the table. Jackie Grealish getting the 93rd minute winner. Munoz tried to clear it. Jack Grealish got his foot in the way and it just cannoned past the goalkeeper line on the floor in the back of the net. And the run was over. It was an incredible run by Crystal Palace, but they have indeed updated the bio. The unbeaten run has gone and it's just fantastic what they've done. It really is. Their squad is paper thin when you look at it. If you look at the bench, Sosa, Uche, who was lucky to stay on the pitch for me personally, he punched Tarkowski in the stomach. It wasn't the most fierce of punches, but it still was an action where he wanted to cause some element of damage to the opposition player. VAR looked at it and surprisingly he stayed on the pitch. You got Canvar, not sure how you pronounce that one, Devaney, Lerma. Will Hughes didn't even come on in this game. I think he was still carrying a knock from the Conference League game. I think the manager said he was dealing with a dead leg of sorts. But their squad is so thin, and yet they've still produced an incredible start to the season, continuing where they finished the last end of the back campaign. Well, the back end of last campaign. Getting so excited about talking about Palace, but they did really well to keep that run going. Picked up their first victory in the Conference League, of course. Pickford, 4 points. Tarkowski, 4 points. O'Brien, 4 points. Keane went off with an injury. We're not too sure how that is. Grealish with 12 points and Dye with a 10-pointer. But looking at the Crystal Palace assets, which is really what we want to be filling our teams with potentially going forward. Henderson with a 3, Richards with a 3, Gay with a 3, Lacroix with a 1, Mitchell with a 4, and Munoz picking up a 10-pointer, which was so close to being a massive haul. Of course, they lost the clean sheet points, so that was 5 down. He dropped 1 on the bonus point because he got booked for the tackle, so that booking actually cost him 2 points. So he dropped from a 17-pointer to a 10-pointer. As a Munoz owner, I would definitely still take the 10 points, so especially after his goal midweek in the Conference League as well. Yerry Pino, is it Jeremy Pino? Filling in that number 10 role once again. One of their star signings, it's looking like, over the summer, filling that Eze role from last season. Slowly creeping into my thoughts. Now, you don't want to load up too much on Palace players. Ismail Assar, another one, 89th minute substitution. Maybe has an injury, so that's one to keep an eye out on. But he picked up an assist once again, and 8 points overall is a really good asset. Kamada, 6-pointer. Got him in my squad. We'll get to him in a little while. 8 tackles overall. He gave me Tint Irabunan vibes from last season. For those of you who did play the game, I think Irabunan picked up about 15, 20 tackles in one League Cup game last season. So it did give me the same vibes. But for Palace, I think if you've got their players, just hold them. Their squad isn't very big. The occasional player will be rested here and there, but I think going forward, minutes wise, they are quite reliable. And the final game for game week 7 involving a European team was Brentford 0, Manchester City 1. Of course, Erling Haaland scoring once again. His goal scoring form over the last 2 months, well, over his last probably 15 games, has been incredible. I saw a graphic. Of course, when he went away with Norway, he was scoring 4 or 5 goals a game in that 11-1 victory, I think it was. He's come back with Man City, and every game you see him play for Man City, you expect him to score. It's not even a doubt or a consideration. You're just expecting to see Erling Haaland's name on the score sheet. And it reminds me of his 22-23 season where he won the Golden Boot and single-handedly pretty much took the title away from Arsenal. Yes, there was other players in that squad. It was a fantastic Man City team. Rodri stood out. You had Ruben Dias at the back. You had De Bruyne chipping in as well. But Erling Haaland's goal-scoring form just meant you had to basically score twice against City to beat them in that season. And he's slowly, well, not even slowly, he's burst that straight away this season. I thought he'd start slowly in this campaign with City being in the Club World Cup over the summer. How wrong was I? He's come in and he's just blitzed it so far. Donnarumma with the 8-pointer in this one. Nunes and O'Reilly. O'Reilly, it's such a shame he's classified as a midfielder on this game because I think quite a few people would be casting an eye in his direction. Very good for the bonus points and tackles and getting in very advanced positions as well. Nunes with a 7-pointer. Gavardio, 13 points in this one. Very close to 3 bonus points overall. Picking up the clean sheet. I've got the assist for the Haaland goal. Played it over the top of the defence. I'm not sure if that was his big chance created. If it was, I think it's slightly fortuitous because it took a lot of work from Erling Haaland in this one to get the goal out of it. Diaz with a 10-pointer, 3 bonus points overall. But blanks for Foden. Yes, he did pick up a 4-pointer, but I'd still consider that a blank for a player that he didn't score many points at home to Burnley and away to Brentford. And if you brought him in for those 2 fixtures, you would have hoped for a lot more points than what he's given you. Same with Johnny Rydens in this game. 4 points overall, 1 off the 3 bonus points. So he did pick up 1 in this game. He should have scored. Ball went to the back stick. He hit it flush on the volley. Fantastic save from Kelleher, kept him out. And for those of you who did own him, it would have been a heart in the mouth moment. Erling Haaland, as I spoke about, got the goal in the 9th minute. But after half time, Brentford got back into this game. They made it a very scruffy game. And Haaland, in his interview afterwards, came out and went, it was like playing the Stoke team of old. Lots of long throws by Coyote. And they just roughed them up. They didn't really put a finger on, or lay a finger on Man City, that is. It was quite a easy clean sheet. City's fixtures, they're okay going forward. There's lots of rotation. But I think with Shirky on the bench, you've got Bernardo Silva on the bench. We're still not sure when Marmoush is going to come back into the fold. So there's lots of uncertainty with regards to the 4 positions behind Erling Haaland. But Erling Haaland was my captain this week, and I will gladly take his 9-pointer. Moving on to my team, just a little recap of how it did in game week 7. 78 points overall. Of course, it was never going to be as good as it was in game week 6 with a double game week. That was incredible points, all 180 plus points. But I will gladly take 78 points in a single game week, especially from the very first game of this game week on the Friday night. If you didn't own Semenyo, it was always going to hurt your rank of sorts. 20 points were on the Friday night, a couple of goals and an assist. So I was fighting those points back constantly and it went okay. Royce in goal, just a 3-pointer away to Manchester United. He's been an incredible goalkeeper. He really has since the start of the season. He's made me $1 million profit from a Sunderland goalkeeper who I put in the team for $2 million. You can't ask much more than that. Back 3, I brought in Gabriel this week for Livramento, who is out for 2 months. I did toy with the idea of taking Livramento out and keeping it with 3 defenders because I think I had 4. It was 4-4-2 in the previous week. But I switched it up. I was going to go for Saka. I thought Saka is 6.1. He might not play, but he probably was going to play. and Gabriel at the time was going to go up 0.2 in value, and he was a million or so cheaper. And thankfully, Gabriel only lost out 2 points on Saka despite the penalty miss. And I think Gabriel going forward offers a lot of reliability in that Arsenal back line. Munoz with the 10 pointer, as I spoke about, could have been 17 points, but after his midweek heroics, I would gladly take a 10 pointer in a game where Palace conceded. Conte with a 6 pointer. I think I lost in the region of 10 to 14 points between Munoz getting booked, Palace conceding, and Villa conceding in the space of 5 minutes. So the rank was a lot better than what it was. I think my rank currently is about 770th in the world, which is really good considering the only chips I've played is a couple of sub-booster chips, none of the big ones at all. So to finally break into the top 1k is very good going. And as I said, with that Semenyo 20-pointer, clawing it back, I think I only dropped about 30 places in game week 7. And with the way that the team set up going into game week 8, it's just a really good platform to build off. Gordon with a 2-pointer, he blanked this week. Kudus with a 14-pointer, star of the show for me in game week 7. Perhaps Saw just a 2-pointer coming off the bench, a disappointing return. Kamada chipping in once again with his solid 6 points. And my other transfer this week was Elliot Anderson coming in. I actually forgot who was coming for now. Interesting. Because show how poor my memory is. So Elliot Anderson came in this week, and well, I know who he came in for. He came in for Nico Williams. So I didn't really gain many points on him. I think it was 1 or 2, that was it. But I thought Forest would go to Newcastle and concede 3 or 4 goals. And I was close with that assumption, but not quite with the amount of points that I was going to get out of the players. Anderson went up in price. Nico Williams stayed the same. And I'm just glad to have Elliot Anderson in my squad. Very reliable, especially for minutes going into the doubles. And up front, Erling Haaland got the goal. 9-pointer, doubling it to 18 with the captaincy armband on him. And Mo Salah blanking with just the 3-pointer, 2 for turning up and a big chance created. 78 points overall, 776th I think in the world. I'll take it. If you would have told me that after 7 game weeks going into the international break, I'd have snapped your hand off for it. And it's a very solid platform to build on going into game week 8 after the international break. And last but by no means least, we're looking at the GB Fantasy Football League, Sun Dream Team League, that is. And as you can tell by the smile on my face, I have ticked off one of the goals that I set for the season, but we'll get to that in just a second. Number 1 currently in the league is Bring Back Big Ange. Jay Milligan, 82 points for game week 7, 772 overall so far. An incredible return. Plucky player, Enfal Shaw, 86 points for game week 7, 760 overall. Third place, Stranger Mings, G. Richard, 78 points for game week 7, 745 points. In fourth position, Bratsworth FC, C. Hyatt, 65 points. So a little bit low on the points wise this week, but I'm sure you'll bounce back for game week 8, that is. 744 points. Forever 20, N. Perry in 5th position with 83 points for this week. AFC Lambretta with 94 points. A very solid week, that is. I'm sure that catapulted you up the leaderboards. L. Lambert. NCFC 1862, 62 points this week. That's P. Ashmore. And in 8th position, I've made it into one of my own videos. Plain Lazy, G. Bristow, 78 points, 726 overall points, that is. Still way off first position in my own league. What's that, 46 points? That's a massive gap. But I wanted to appear in one of my own videos, and I can gladly say, no matter what happens throughout the rest of the season, that has happened. So it's me in 8th position. The Dream Team King, Nathan Wisby. See, I know Nathan. I've seen you in the Dream Team Tonic videos. 71 points this week. 724 points overall, and Rock and Roll saw 69 points for this week, 723 overall, and that is Jay Dean, the manager. So that's how the top 10 is looking going into the second international break so far in Sun Dream Team for the 25-26 season. So that does indeed conclude today's video. Of course, we're now in a 2-week hiatus basically until game week 8, but don't you worry. On the GB Fantasy Football channel, there will be plenty of content throughout to keep us intrigued, keep us engaged, and keep us with the bit between our teeth going into game week 8. Keeping our eye on what potential players to use. Leave a comment down below on how many transfers you do have going into Game Week 8. For me personally, I've only got the 2, but I know quite a few players saw their teams going into Game Week 7 and opted for keeping at least 1 or 2 of them back so they have lots more options in Game Week 8. And leave a comment down below on how your Game Week 7 did go overall. I'm interested to see if going from a double to a single affected your points in a positive or negative manner. Whew, it's good to be back. The deadline being on a Friday felt like a long weekend without any videos coming out. Back on the content grind, and I'm loving every second of it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Over 80% of you viewers aren't subscribed, so let's change that. Let's see if we can bring the figure right down. Leave a thumbs up on the video as well. Always targeting 100 in these videos. Push it out to all the Sun Dream Team players so they can see the content, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Socials are in the description down below. Go check it out. We've got Instagram, we've got X, we've got TikTok, all the good stuff. Go check it out. As I said, you won't miss a thing. Thank you very much for watching today's video, and you'll be seeing me in a new one very soon.